Awesome. So, morning, everybody. Welcome to Office Hours. It's Friday, February 28th. We're going to do a quick 33 minutes of Office Hours, and then we're going to shift gears and do a fun Feature Friday with Ray from Demand Sphere, which I'm super excited about. I want to see what you want to share with us. Past couple weeks, we've been looking at Looker Studio and doing building tools for data visualization, and we've also been talking a little bit about analysis. And I thought that it would be a great opportunity to dive into data analysis. To be honest, I thought I was going to have a half an hour to prep at Starbucks before opening the call and scrambling and driving around. I don't feel ready to do that. So I'm feeling like it'll be a good opportunity to be more organic rather than structured. Are we all cool with that?
Mhm.
And then maybe if you had questions and we treated it as more of like a organic office hours, that would be awesome. And then next week I'll have more time to prep and I'll be ready to go and have something more structured. Not necessarily a deck, but something a little bit more structured. Does that work for everybody? Kim, is that
Yeah.
cool for you? Okay.
Yeah.
Do you, now, and uh, Bronson, just so you know what you walked into, and also I don't know how to pronounce your name perfectly. Hopefully you can help me. Is it Nafisa? Did I say your name right?
Oh, yes, it's Nafisa.
Perfect. Okay. Yeah, so just so you know what you've walked into, like this is office hours. We do it every Friday at 9 a.m. Mountain Standard Time. So there's tons of different time zones and everything, right? So like it's 9 a.m. in from Colorado time, and we usually spend about 40 minutes where either I'm like sharing something or I have a guest come in that who's sharing something, or we do something organic where we just basically go through questions and answers, stuff that people are struggling with or wins that we want to celebrate. It's a way for us to build community. Sometimes I'll share sort of like direction of the community ideas with folks just so that they can have an opportunity to connect with me and have an opportunity for me to connect with you. So if we could jump in, that'd be really great. There's one thing that I want to share with you guys that I'm doing on my trip across country. My uncle is a pretty well-known psychologist. His name is Alan Fogel. He spent an entire academic career studying, like he's like the world's preeminent expert in language before the age of 18 months. So it's like a pretty small niche thing. But after he retired from academia, he got into something called embodied leadership. And he's friends with a woman named Amanda Blake, and she wrote this book called Your Brain. I think it's Your Body and Your Brain. And I've been listening to this book and just like soaking it all in. And it's gotten me thinking a ton about a lot of different things, but one of the key things is like why I'm doing the community and what my vision is and what my purpose is and that kind of stuff. And I wanted to share a little bit of that with you if you guys are open to it. Hopefully it's not too self whatever, but I've been staying for a little bit with the community. Like my big feeling is that I want to make the biggest impact I can on the lives of our members in a positive way. Like I want to help you guys get the most out of your lives and your careers. And I've had coaching calls with a lot of people in the community, and I have been feeling at times like I don't necessarily have the tools to be a good mentor or the tools to be a great coach or whatever. And listening to this book and hanging out with my uncle over the past couple of days has got me thinking a lot about becoming a certified coach so that I can really provide that kind of value for folks. Not like to shift careers or shift whatever, but to kind of add that to my toolkit. And I think there was one thing that I heard in this book that resonated with me a ton, which was the impact that we have on people goes out three rings to the people that we interact with. Me talking with you impacts the people that you talk with, and it impacts the people that they talk with. And so, building a community that's based on kindness and compassion and a desire to help and to really have that be the focus, I think we can have a pretty outsized impact, not just on, I can have an impact on you guys, but also like impact on the people that you know and interact with, and to maybe make the world a little bit better at the same time. So that was just something that I was really, really excited to listen to. And it really, over this trip, it's got me thinking a ton about just a lot of different things. And I want to share just a quick anecdote also with you. Two quick anecdotes, actually, because David just jumped in the call. Um, One anecdote was that I shared that story with a lot of you. Kim, you remember the story of how these I basically help people when I used to work in the bike industry, and I basically delivered them. They had a broken scooter, and I threw their scooter in the back of a delivery truck, and I took them to a hotel, and they were like super blown away and stoked, and they decided they didn't tell me this at the time, but while they were lying in bed that night, they decided that if they had a boy, they were going to name him Noah. And they came into the bike shop that I worked at 15 or 16 or 17 years later, and I was standing in the shop at the time, and they walked in and they said, "Excuse me, is there someone named Noah who works here?" And the team sent these people over to me, and they told me the story of how I had helped them, and I'd completely forgotten about this. And then they said, "Yeah, you threw our bike in the back of the delivery truck, and you took us to the hotel. And that night, we decided if we had a boy, we'd name him Noah." They whipped out their cell phone, they opened it, and they said, "Hey, this is our son Noah." So that moment, the impact that we can have on other people, the lift that's required from us is often so small that we don't even think about it when we're doing it, but the reverberations of that impact go outwards in multiple ways, right? And so that's what I want to build on with the community. That's why I think it matters, and that's why I think it's really special. That's anecdote one. Anecdote two. Last night, I went out to dinner with a guy named Brett, Brett Woodward. He's in our community, and we worked together in that bike shop for 8 years. And I'm actually wearing that T-shirt now from the bike shop, Young's Bicycle Shop on Nantucket Island. And uh, we went out to dinner in Salt Lake last night, and he, uh, like I worked with him in the bike shop. When I left, I trained him to take over all the stuff that I'd done, whether it was like producing print ads or editing the website or creating content on the website, anything having to do with sales and marketing, he took over all those roles. I helped the bike shop after I left with SEO and some web dev and stuff like that. And I founded this little company called Bike Shop SEO. He was an English major. I recruited him to write for my agency. He became more and more integrated into the agency. And when I decided that I no longer wanted to own it, uh, I then merged it with another agency called Two Octobers in Denver. And my goals for that were to get me a job, to take care of my clients, and to get Brett a job, right? And turns out that 6 months after I joined, I got him a job at Two Octobers, and he's still there. And last night we were out at dinner, and it was another one of those moments where you remember who you are and why we do what we do and why things matter. And while we were having dinner, he was just talking with me about career stuff and trying to figure out, what he wanted to learn next, what things matter to him, and all that kind of stuff. And I've been sort of a coach, guide, mentor, someone he could bounce ideas off for years and years. And towards the end of the meal, he said, "Hey, guess what? I was able to buy a home. And I want to show you pictures of this home because you made it happen. You helped me make this happen." And so it's like all the times that I like tried to help him, it It was specifically, sorry, I'm like breaking up. It was specifically so that he could like get that stuff out of life. And it was just like really meaningful. So anyway, I just wanted to share that stuff with you guys because like I am here to help and I'm here to help you guys get the most out of what we do. And times are tough, right? And it's like helping you figure out like how to navigate things. Not that I know the answers, but it's like I want to do whatever I can. And I just wanted to share that stuff because I felt like it's important to know like why are we here? Why are we doing what we do and all that stuff? And I just thought it was important to share it. So with that, I'll open up the floor and thanks, Holly. Um, I'll open up the floor, but I just wanted to share that because there are times where we don't think about meaning, we don't think about purpose, and we just sort of like drift through meetings and whatever, right? And it's just important to kind of have that perspective about why we're doing what we're doing. So anyway, that's my story and I'm sticking to it. Anybody got feedback or questions or have challenges they want to talk through? Sorry,
I think
I
that's an
teared up here.
important story that you told, Noah. I was listening to a book and, just talking about identity and how people have identity crises. And, as I watch my kids grow up too, they're in their 20s. Um, it's important to know what we want um, to give back. What is our identity?
Yeah,
Um, work is great, but I don't know. They were talking about a basketball player basically, and he was good at what he did from when he was a little guy. That's all he did was just play basketball. Everything was about basketball. But then came time to that his pro basketball job was over. What was he going to do? So it's like he starts having an identity crisis. And, I look back at the last job that I had. I just put everything that I could into it. And, 3 years later, it's like, dang, who am I?
yeah,
So and you can achieve that through work. And I think that was the challenge for me is to, what do I want to provide for work and merge that with my identity. How do I want to give back?
yeah. I'm sharing links to this woman's book. So I think she offers like coaching training, and my uncle recommended that I reach out to her. So I'm gonna do that in short order. And I think what I'm gonna do, I have no idea what pricing's like or whatever, but I'm gonna use some revenue that's coming in through the community to help me get that kind of certification so I can help more. That's kind of where my head's at on this. Um, do you guys think that would be useful? Like, do you think that would be a valuable component for the community? Or is it just like, hey, I want to be at a Slack thing and I want to hang out with other SEOs? Like, do you think that would be valuable for folks?
To
I
have a
mean,
coach?
Yeah. I
I
mean,
think I've what I've seen both from this community and also kind of the other SEO communities in general. I think one of the things that I've noticed is that people really are interested in talking about these things beyond just SEO stuff. I don't know what it is about our field, but I think it brings so many different types of people together that we all kind of sense that there's interest in more than just like day to day business.
yeah,
I think that's one of the strengths of our whole industry, or whatever you want to call it, because I think people just kind of recognize that we all come from different walks of life, and it takes a lot more intuitive based interactions with people than just like standard, transactional type of relationships.
yeah,
Don't you think that SEO is so varied though also? Um, And if we try to be everything to SEO, I think that's where we do lose part of our identity. It's like there's nothing wrong with just diving in and wanting to be more content creation or technical base. And I know those jobs are out there where it's like, well, dang, I'll do anything just to get a job. And that's important too. I'm like, hey, we need we do need food on the table. So that's hard. That's a hard line to do. It's like, okay, where am I going to fit and where am I going to stay? Or am I going to vary so I do get that job? And
Did y'all see that The Hunt, that video that we did last Thursday? If you haven't, it's in the Captain's Log channel. I had this vision because I felt like there were so many of us that were struggling for work right now, that there were a bunch of members who are unemployed, not just like dissatisfied with their current role or whatever, but just like, hey, I need to get money coming in. And so I had this vision like, hey, let's do a room where people could do an elevator pitch and then get feedback from a panel of people who do a ton of hiring. And I think we're going to adjust the format a lot. So it's more like as you find your way into anything, you have to kind of experiment and figure it out. But like, I think what we're going to gravitate towards is more of a Q&A kind of thing, because I think people will get more value out of that than just like, hey, let me see if I can impress people. It'll be more like, hey, I'm struggling with, I can't get any traction when I send my resume out. What's wrong with my resume? I can't get any traction when I'm in the room with people. Why, like those types of things. So I thought that round one, where we actually did the elevator pitches, was really cool, but it wasn't necessarily really cool because of the elevator pitches. It was really cool because of listening to the panel talk about how many bad resumes they get and all of the varied ways in which they're super bad, or just like what their expectations are when they analyze candidates. Jessica Levinson from Oracle was talking about how when they put out a role, that they have 800 to 900 applicants, and that like throwing that many people through the sorting hat, something like 800 of them, like 80% of them didn't include any kind of metrics at all in the resume. They didn't have any kind of customization for the role, that it felt like copy pasting out of their LinkedIn profile, that when they were in the room, the candidates didn't ask any questions. The candidates didn't try and control the conversation. The candidates didn't display any
that
kind of cure. Yeah, they didn't
that is
display.
the biggest thing that I've caught was asking questions and controlling it. Um, I'm in my 50s here, and I grew up as like, okay, if you're too strong of a woman, you're the big B, right? And so I just recently had an interview, and I didn't get I was passed over. And they
Mm,
did state why, which I greatly appreciate, is because they didn't think that I could take control. And therefore, within that interview, I left and I was wondering if I wasn't forceful enough or clear enough on my directives. And sure enough, that's I wasn't. But
mm.
you never know what that line is because I'm sorry, I've got cat here floating here. You don't know what that line is that do they want you to be a strong leader, a strong person, or are they afraid that, oh, you're coming in and you're going to change everything and, control everything? And so it's that fine line that
Yeah.
I have a hard time with.
Anybody else?
I mean,
Anybody else?
from the perspective of someone who hires, it's it's probably so much like personal preference and like style of the organization and everything. But I personally want to hear somebody with strong opinions because I want to know how they're going to look at the world if they joined, and I want to know like what type of change they should be able to um, achieve. So I think that's probably from the hiring side of things. That's probably why people are looking for that sort of uh, person who can come in and control the conversation. So hopefully we're beyond people shouldn't ask questions and like have strong opinions and sort of thing. But maybe I'm sure that there's a lot of that still out there. But yeah, it's just personally, it's kind of what I prefer.
Really quick, before we go much further, let's do hands. Let's raise hands. And can you guys try that? I want to see if you raise your hand, if it'll automatically do it for you. Yeah. Okay, so I'm not seeing any kind of hand raising. Okay, so David's was recognized. Holly, you're up next. So I don't know. You might have to click buttons, y'all. It looks like the hand gestures only work for some of us.
Yeah, oh, there it is. I see it in the React section, but
Okay.
could just be Zoom. I'll just raise all the hands and it'll eventually get it. I'll just put the jazz hands out there.
That's fantastic.
But what's funny is that, what is it, Teams? Teams started doing that for us, and it was like, oh my God, it was a little too much for a second there, raising the hand. Is it Kim? I'm sorry, your name
Yes.
all together. I kind of had a follow-up question for you. Was the role that you were interviewing for, was that a director level role, VP, C-suite?
It was a director role. Yes.
Director role. And that's so hard because I'm sure people want to see that, right? They're like, can she take charge? Can she lead the team? But it's a delicate balance of, can she listen to the team? Can she nurture? And, so I'm sorry you lost the role. But I know there's something better for you out there, and take it as a learning experience.
Trust me, I'm not sad at all, because it's healthcare, and I like healthcare, but this particular place, they did not want to use any AI. I'm just like, oh, whoa, that's going to set my career way back. I'm just like, I'm very forward moving, and I want to stay up on what's working, what's not working, what's changing, and not to have AI and totally be closed off from that was not something that I really wanted to hear.
Yeah, no, completely. And it's coming, right? It's already here. So
Yes.
one thing that kind of made me think when you were talking about your experience with that role is maybe, and this maybe goes for anybody, you could ask earlier, what does success look like in this role? And if you listen to what that sounds like from the interviewers, that might help you adjust in real time. And I use that example because we hired internally at Under Armour specifically for a role that we were looking for someone who was going to be an authority on kind of the sports marketing, sports reporting landscape, but we didn't want him to be an authority per se in the room and to tamp down other people's opinions. We wanted him to be accepted and looked at as someone who we could bring into the fold more. So, and that was kind of the criteria that we started to look at other candidates against. And so I see that as a way of like really getting that sort of qualitative feedback while you're on the, in the call of like, what are they really looking for? Because you can read that JD, that job description every day, all day, and you're like, yeah, I have all these qualifications. But sometimes you can get a little more nuance of the character and what they're really looking for as you talk to them and say, to each person that you interview with, what does success look like in this role? And maybe get a bit of a picture of what they're looking for, and then you can try to reflect that in your interview. You're like, maybe I need to step it up more. Maybe I need to, jump in on a few things more and look more, authoritative, more director-like, versus maybe this person wants to see the, the nurturing side or the listening side. I could ask a few more questions. It's hard to do in real time, but just a suggestion of throwing that question out there earlier on, or even as a second question in your final Q&A, could maybe help you to kind of finish off and give a good button for your interview as you go forward.
That's very good suggestion. I like that. Very good.
Who from
Thank you.
the audience hasn't, or from the group hasn't talked yet and has feelings they want to share? About, oh, so Jess, just so you know what we're talking about career stuff, big surprise, and community stuff. Who wants to go? Ryan, did you raise your hand?
I did. I was just trying to test to see if that thing worked, but I guess it doesn't work for me.
Okay.
So one thing that I took away from the hunt that we did, Jessica also said this, but it was oh shoot, it'll come back to me. But I had some other thoughts too. That so I've been on both sides. I've been on the hiring and I've been on the seeking side. The seeking side sucks. I don't like it at all. I feel like I'm groveling a lot of the times. And so like actually when I got back into this recent job hunt, I I don't know why I did this, but I went and applied for stuff, which I think is the dumbest thing because like there's like you said, there's like hundreds of applications that are going in all the time. You have to try to think, is my resume going to get past this thing? So I've looking back, I've got all my jobs through some sort of connection, right? So like, and you've said that too, Noah. Like, I mean, like your last time when you got to Sterling Sky was, you put out 3 feelers or whatever. So like that's how I should do my job hunt. I should be following up with people. I went through this job training, this hunt job training course like multiple times, and that's what they have you do. Have you sit down and every day you write out a list of connections that you can contact, and you can contact them for like an interview of like, hey, I want to figure out what your role is like, or you contact somebody to say, do you know of anything, and you just follow your connections instead of like going to the job boards and randomly submitting stuff. So that's the first thing, is that like that's how jobs are usually made. Because I remember what Jessica said. She said, or I think a multiple of people said, but like they're usually hiring for a good fit, right? And then they could fill in the job skills later. Not like you don't want any job skills, but like a lot of times like things are specific enough within a company that they're going to like work with you to get you to a point. I mean, depending on the level, sometimes they want you to hit the ground running, but a lot of times they're hiring for fit first, right?
Yeah.
So that's good. I like what Holly said about like asking up front what you need to, like what success means. Because you can usually, this is another thing they toss in the course, but like you take every like thing on the job, the resume, right? And after a few resumes, you're going to have this just in your bank. But you come up with a statement that addresses each of the requirements, right? Like if it's, can run a content program, say like I ran a content program at this site. We trimmed down, we did an audit, and we trimmed down 70%. We cut out 70% of the content we had, and as a result we grew by 10% month over month for 6 months straight. So you come up with those stats that can define for the interviewer like how you're succeeding at that thing, not just that I did it. And there's like what you're saying on the resumes, there's like when there's no statistics to show how you improve something, they can't get an idea in their head of like what that would mean for their company. So you do that in the interview with like really short statements. I did this and this was the result. And so when you ask somebody up front like what does success mean, you're usually ready if you have those statements at hand, because they're going to say like, well, we need our content program grown, or like we're really bad right now at our technical stuff is really suffering and we're not getting indexed. Well, I was at Disney and I did X and we grew 10% as a result, right? So those kind of things can come really in handy if you're prepared with them, and you can usually adapt them to multiple areas to fit what they're asking and what looks like success. So that's a quick way for them to know. And then lastly, I did have an interview where I took charge and I was really asking a lot of questions to see what their systems look like and what I can do to improve. And then the second interviewer came on a little bit late, so she missed my like what I've done. And all she heard was me asking questions, and they passed me up for somebody else because she couldn't gauge whether I was like a good fit, I guess, for if I could do what they wanted me to do. And it just made me think like I still got to pay attention during an interview. And if something like that happens, I got to say, hey, let me go back and just share with you, like, what some of my experience is. So instead of just being all in my head, and like, I was really interested and I really wanted to know what to do for them, but or what their systems look like and how I can improve them, but at the expense of something else that potentially cost me the role. So
You got 2.5 minutes left before we shift gears. I'm open to sitting on a Walmart floor longer than 10 o'clock, surprisingly. So like I'm happy to chat after a little bit longer. But anybody who hasn't spoken yet want to jump in? I just want to make sure that everybody feels heard. 2.5 minutes. Jump in now. Forever hold your peace. Until next week.
It looked like Kim was raising her hand with that tail.
With the cat.
Oh.
She's talked too much. Who's next? I'm kidding. Can't see. I'm like, she's over on my left, and I'm using my left hand, and it's going to the right, so it's not working as I anticipated. It's very funny. Anyone else feel like they want to? Can we do less than 2-sentence wins real quick? Go around the room. Anybody got a win? They can celebrate in a sentence or two. Since last week. Ooh, Anne Berlin's jumping in. She's a pal of mine from Deep Crawl, now Lumar. Hi, Anne. Welcome.
I got a quick win that I can share.
Let's hear it.
I saw someone that was hosting an ESPN show wearing like one of our, hoodies, logos, and took a picture of him and like tweeted at him and was like, cool, man, thanks for repping the brand. Like, you look great, looks awesome. He followed me and messaged me and was like, I'm a huge Under Armour fan and like would love to talk to you guys about collaborations. And I was like, oh my God. I was like, that is really cool. Let me find someone and let's talk. And he asked me like so quickly in the Twitter DMs, he was like, what's the number? Like, what's a good phone number I can call you on? And I was like, am I being catfished? I was like, is this a girl? But it was really him. And I got to talk to him and I was like, oh my God, this is really cool. So excited that, Twitter is X, whatever, is a platform for good sometimes, but for reaching people. And that was really cool. Good win.
Awesome.
Okay. Anybody else got a quickie? Really quick? 2 sentences or less?
Yeah, I got one. This week I had been experiencing a lot of like motivation issues, and this week I took off and just did a lot of exercise, and I felt a lot more positive. I hadn't been doing that, and just reminded me that health is important.
My big win was having breakfast with Ryan in Salt Lake City. When was that? Wednesday? Tuesday? Okay.
Wednesday.
Excellent. Yeah, we had a nice little meal. Okay, so with that, I think we're going to shift gears here. And Demand Sphere's joining us. One of the real revelations of my 2024 was getting to know Ray. And they've got a bunch of cool stuff going on. Do you want to share your big news that you've been teasing on social?
Yeah, we are doing an event in Tokyo. So just for some background, I started the company in Tokyo about 15 years ago, so we've always had a really big audience there. And one of the things that I've wanted to do for a long time was connect the Japan and the US and kind of like quote unquote Western, like outside of Japan, US SEO communities. And there's obviously like language barriers and distance and everything. And so there's some things that make that difficult, but we've always done conferences there, and we decided this year to do a bigger one. Usually we do things just, like 60, 70 people. And this year we wanted to do something bigger. We brought in some people that we had a lot of respect for from the US into Japan because there's a lot of people who are well known in Japan, but the people who are there never have a chance to travel internationally to go meet them and go talk to them at conferences and so forth. So we're going to try to do what we can to bring the kind of the outside Japan community into Japan to try to form some of these connections with the hopes that that'll give them a lot more encouragement to start attending conferences outside of Japan. They're kind of shy, with like the language barrier is kind of a hard thing. So just getting people out of their shell a little bit, and trying to form some connections there is one of the main reasons we want to do this. And so we've got some. I'm not going to announce all of the speakers right now because we're going to be kind of teasing them out. But the conference is going to be at the end of October, 28th and 29th. If you've never been to Japan and you want to go, this would be a great opportunity because it's going to be awesome. And it's in some amazing place. I go there all the time, and I always find something that is new and interesting there. But one of the things that I'm really happy about is Noah will be joining us as a speaker. And we have not announced that yet. So this is the first time everyone's hearing this, but I'm really excited about that because I got to know Noah last year as well at Brighton, and just kind of talking through the community and so forth. And just it's like what you see is what you get. Like the community side of things is something that I had been really lacking on my side. We've just kind of been in our own little niche for a long time, and he was super welcoming as soon as we got involved in this community. And it was one of the first communities that I felt that it was just super easy to get in and get to know people. And so it's something we're really grateful for, and for Noah's, community building around that I think is huge. And, we're big supporters of everything he's doing here as well.
I'm crazy stoked. Okay, so what do you want to share with us? Is it marketing?
Yeah, we've got.
What do you want to show?
I've got a few features that we're kind of doing some things with that I'd love to get feedback on. We just for context, like I said, we've been in business for about 15 years. We're a SERP analytics platform. We focus primarily on kind of mid-market to enterprise, but we have companies of all sizes and shapes. Small independent consultants, agencies use us, startups, and then obviously, like more on the enterprise side, we do a lot of work there too. And we have a lot of different things that we have in our platform. So I don't want to try to give like a whole demo or anything, but just wanted to show some things that we've been playing with recently. Because I think that the things that we're pretty excited about, and I'm a big believer in getting feedback from people who would potentially use it to make sure we're on the right track. I don't want to build things for no reason. And so this is a good opportunity for us. So if it's cool, I can go ahead and share my screen and show some of the things that we have in the works here.
I think you have the ability to share. I think I gave everybody.
I do. Yep.
Okay, cool.
So one of the things that we have, can everyone see my screen here? So one of the things that we have is, when you look at SERP Analytics, obviously we're tracking, SERPs for different keywords. We track a lot of different search engines, and we're adding more. Obviously, Google is the big one, but we're doing some new stuff. Doing a lot more with Bing, which I never thought I would find myself saying, but we're always adding in additional, functionality. And I'll talk more about some of the stuff we're doing with the AI search engines here at the end. But one of the things that I've always thought was really valuable for people was to be able to tie in different data sources and make it easy to get it all in one place. It's one of the things that I love about BigQuery, and I think it's one of the things that I connected with Noah about as well, is just the ability to have a data warehouse where everything is highly segmentable and easily queryable in one place is something that's really powerful and pretty hard problem to solve. And so one of the things that we do with our platform, we built this before bulk export was available. So we've had the Search Console integration for quite a while, where we could go, beyond the traditional limitations in the UI. And so we can pull in all of your keywords and go back, the 14 months or however far back your account is set up to handle. So we'll pull all of that in by default when you connect Search Console to our platform. But we didn't want to just do that. We wanted to put that in the context of your SERP visibility as well. And so we built this thing called Unified Visibility. Since, obviously any Search Console data that we would connect would be customer data. I can't show that here, but I'll talk through what that would look like a little bit. But one of the things that we also are pretty big believers in is that you have to have visual analytics on the SERPs. And so you can't just be looking at your ranking position within the traditional kind of organic index. You need to be understanding what the visual impact is on the user. And so the way we do that is we have traditional metrics like ranking and average ranking and visibility. We also have something that we call visual rank, which is basically your visual position from the perspective of the searcher that takes into account all of the different positions affected by the SERP features. And then we also do pixel-based measurement and tracking. And so we think that it's really important to understand visually, like, are you in the first fold, second fold, all that. So that we have pixel depth there. We have some additional custom things that we do around some more kind of forecasting and understanding like what your max potential ranking would be. That's kind of a whole other rabbit hole I'm not going to go into today. And then if you have Search Console connected, we'll also pull in impressions, clicks, and click-through rate. And this has been something that we released this, and we still want to do more with it, but we've been getting some good feedback on it because it kind of helps people answer the question of why is my click-through rate staying the same or going down, even if our rankings are good. You know, they're either increasing or improving. And it seems like click-through rates should be going up. And even though SEOs will understand, well, obviously it's because SERP features are pushing down your organic position, or you know, like there's AI overviews and that sort of thing. But being able to show with data to people who aren't in the SEO world, it helps them understand this a lot more intuitively, based on the feedback we've received so far. So what this is doing is for every keyword that you're tracking, and anything that's coming from Search Console, of course, as well, that would show up here as well. So basically you have the ability to kind of merge all this stuff together and try to correlate the data. And so that's what this is showing. And you can use this as a starting point to drill into pretty much anything. One thing that we're adding, we still need to add here, that we don't have today, is filtering more by different SERP features. So that's kind of the next thing we're adding here, which is I want to be able to come in and say, okay, I can see the click-through rate for everything. I want to know what the click-through rate is for keywords that have AI overviews. I heard a chime. Do I need to?
Nope,
Was that a
you're
hand?
good. People are jumping in.
Okay, cool. And so I want to be able to filter by, you know, different, like, what is the click-through rate of a bunch of keywords or SERPs that have certain SERP features on them. So that's the main point of this thing. So this is something that we think is kind of cool. Would love to hear people's thoughts on it, and then I'll stop there and we can maybe talk through some different examples.
I love this. And
I've got
go.
I have a very overzealous cat, so Kim, you and I are probably in a similar situation. I'm curious whether you do this only at the single keyword level or if you can do this at the group keyword level. I'm thinking of a client, for instance, where a whole kind of content has been eroded over the last 2 years by changes on the SERP. And I'm stuck like manually snapshotting the SERP and saying, here's the rich feature that has blown you onto page 2, right?
Yeah.
But if I could see this not just at a single keyword level, but at a, you know, in this case, I'm thinking like animal facts or animal quick keywords, right? Can you do that?
Yeah, it does. And so this is, so like one of the things I was saying is we need to add, we're just adding the last bit of filtering to be able to filter by specific SERP features. So that'll be coming here pretty soon too. But we have, this is actually looking at all of the, I'll show you another example here as well. This is looking at, which one do I have grouped? List is pretty good. So this is a UK site. We've got a bunch of different groups and segmentation here as well. So this is for all of the keywords that they're tracking. And so you can get this at the individual keyword level, but by default, you're going to see this at the entire site level that you're tracking, and you can do, you know, like any type of grouping that you want on the keywords, and so you can filter that. So that's all right there.
So I have to say, before I make comments, DemandSphere is a community partner. So I just have to do the standard disclaimer, right? So having said that, though, what I share are my own opinions and not anything they asked me to say or whatever. But I think one of the core strengths of DemandSphere that I really dug when they showed it to me was how they do just a great job of making the complex simple to digest. And when you're dealing with all the data that's available in a SERP response, when you're doing rank tracking and you're combining different data sources, like that, those challenges, those just data visualization challenges are multiplied. And I just think they do a great job of dealing with that.
Thanks very much. I think as SEOs, it's easy for us to know how hard it is to get different data sets to work together. And I think it's underappreciated outside the SEO sphere. And so, yeah, that's one of the things that we're always trying to do, is trying to make this integration as easy as possible, even though it's, I think we're always kind of on our side, on the SEO side, kind of smiling at the challenges involved with it. But totally, I think that's a really important thing, is to be able to tell that story with connecting data.
Anyone else want to give feedback, or do you want to show us something else? We still have time.
I have a question really quick, Ray.
Yeah.
I guess I'm not quite understanding. I love the pixel depth thing, because that would definitely explain that answer. I've had that question a lot of times from CEOs and stuff, like why are we like, you're showing me that our ranking's the same, but like we're getting less clicks. What's going on, right? But I'm not quite understanding. You've got average position on the left and pixel depth on the right. Those don't always like equate to each other, right?
They don't. That's one of the visualization challenges with trying to tie all this stuff together. And so I don't really claim to have nailed it. I think that there's always room for iteration on this, but basically, when you have these, because they're two totally different data sets, and so you kind of have to figure out what's the right type of axis to show for this. One of the challenges, for example, here that I still struggle with is the range on that. So like pixel depth right now, we're looking at, in general, the average pixel depth for these, they're kind of like between the second and third fold. You can generally think of like every 1,000 pixels as a fold, depending on what device you're on, just as a rule of thumb. And so we're kind of down in here. But for example, if we just said, okay, let's set this at 0 and then went to 3,000 or 4,000, then this is going to be like even way more off. So that's definitely a challenge on the visualization side. I'm very open to feedback on that. Just haven't found a better way to show that one yet.
I guess that's like, I'm looking now a little bit more, and that you have a separate line. The blue line is for pixel depth, so that's
right.
Yeah. So that makes more sense now, and that's really cool. I like that you can group like keywords, or can you take like is there auto grouping for like certain sections of your site? Will it like take everything in the blog folder and like let you say that, or do you have to like say I want to group by /blog URL? How to group?
Yeah, we have a couple of different ways of auto grouping. We have one thing called matching word rules, which is basically you can specify any string or even regular expressions to auto group a bunch of stuff. And we can do like folder based grouping. We can do search volume range based grouping. Word
intents.
So the way I would do that is we do have a tool to let you group by intents, where you can filter for a specific intent, and then basically like say, okay, all of these are going to be in there. So we do have additional stuff when we work with customers, especially larger customers. We'll get involved more on the kind of like implementation and managed services side. So we have even more back-end tools that we'll use. So we have some cool like AI based clustering tools and stuff that we do, sort of based clustering and stuff too. So grouping is one of the like I could probably do a whole other talk on that at some point, because that's a massive topic. It takes a lot of time.
It would be interesting to see, like based on intent, how those are changing. Like is my pixel depth increasing because of AI overviews that are largely in informational intents or stuff like that? Would be interesting.
Totally. Yeah, we actually did a whole study on that. If you can check it out for free, if you just go to our site, and pull up our actual. If you go here, you can get this. We did a whole study on we actually did some things to trigger a bunch of keywords with informational intent to kind of force the display of AIOs, and got some interesting results on that. So you just could download that if you want to check it out. But
cool.
I definitely agree on that. Speaking of that, I have one other thing to show if we have time, Noah.
Sure.
Okay.
I'm chilling.
Cool. This is a newer feature for us, and it's a little bit kind of a different feature than what we've traditionally done, but I like it, and I'm still finding some different things to play around with. Obviously, on the SERP, there's all kinds of interesting data that you can mine, and I've always wanted a way to get all of the people also asked and suggested keywords, and also things like people also search for and that sort of thing into one place that you can search and kind of like map out the relationships. And so we have this feature here called a Suggestions Explorer. For now, we might come up with a better name, but basically for every keyword that you're tracking in the platform, you're able to go in here and see what were the people also asked questions, what was the search intent of that source keyword, search volume, and you can expand all these and use this. You can export all the data. You can do the same thing for all of the suggested keywords at the bottom, and so you can use this as a way to get a bunch of additional ideas based on the keywords that you're already tracking. There are some obvious next step enhancements that we want to do around this, like pulling in all the answers for these, doing an initial rank track, an initial search volume track for like all of these different things. Yeah, I think I heard a question.
Just the sites that are ranking for those.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, pull all that stuff in. But it's kind of cool. You can easily do searches for things, and just by searching, you can get a view of like what types of things are showing up across all the different source keywords and keywords or suggested keywords. But what I like about this too, from just like a data perspective, is being able to filter by search intents. And so when we were doing the research for that AIO study that I mentioned a minute ago, it was kind of a pain to manually export everything by a certain search intent and then filter that out. And one of the things that we noticed too was the types of keywords that were triggering AIOs a lot more were people also asked style questions, which makes sense. They're more informational. So I wanted an easy way to get that list. So that's the reason we built this feature, is like just kind of based on my own experience with that. And so you can basically say, okay, I want to come in here and find all of the source keywords that have commercial intent. Now I've got a bunch of people also ask questions and suggested keywords that are also directly tied to that commercial intent in some level. So I could, export these or work with these as potential new keywords to look for, both for triggering AIOs to see what type of AIOs are coming up. But the other reason we're doing it is because we're working on tracking ChatGPT and Perplexity and everything else. And similar to keyword research, prompt research is getting really challenging, because it's like, where do I even start on trying to find good questions? And so it seems like a reasonable assumption to say, well, Google has probably better data than anybody around what people are asking about certain topics and questions. And so we're able to mine that and use that as a source for your prompt research on that when you're looking at how people interact with AI search engines. That seems like a kind of a good place to start. In practice, as looking at the data, it's not always as great as I thought it would be, but it's still a useful thing to have. And we're going to be continuing to play with it. So that's there, trying to get some early feedback on that. And then one other crazy thing that we've seen with this is when you start mapping the relationships, and this kind of goes back to the question about automatic grouping, is being able to map the relationships between different types of people also asked. And so it's a crazy visualization, but what it lets you do is say like, okay, what are all the different connections between the different questions and suggested keywords, and you can click on this and get a full listing of all the different source keywords, people, PA, and then suggested keywords across all the different things. And so you can turn that into a pretty interesting, list of things that are being talked about too. So
that's cool.
Yeah.
Is that list of the PAs like from like the top 100 results? Like if there's multiple sections for PAA, or is it just taking like that first one that usually shows up?
That's a good question. Yeah, we are going down to the top 100, but we picked this up currently from that first block. Yeah, but we actually should expand that, because that's another really obvious one.
I like that visualization.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy, but it's interesting. Like shows you some cool relationships.
I have something like it to share with you so you can see another way to visualize like I used it to visualize relationships rather than a hierarchy. Not that you're doing a hierarchy, but it's kind of
Yeah.
similar.
Yeah.
You can check this out. Where you start with a query and then you find the things that are related to it, and then you go to those and you find the things that are related to them, and it allows you to drill down multiple layers. And it's sort of at each layer, it shows you everything that's related to it with search volumes.
Did you send something
Oh,
or
it's in the meeting chat. Sorry about that.
Oh, okay. Sorry, let me pull that up.
It looks like a family history chart.
And you can
Yeah.
click into each, it's a sunburst, I guess. And you can click into each thing, and then to go back up, you click in the center and it pulls you back up layers. And that thing was
That's
the source of me speaking at SearchLove and MozCon at 22.
Cool. I personally think these types of visualizations are awesome because like they're kind of hard sometimes for reporting purposes, but and when you're in that like discovery mode, I think it's super powerful. It helps you find a lot of cool relationships.
Let's see. What else? Do you want to show us something else?
No, that's all I had for today. There's you get me talking and I'll go forever, so I wanted to limit myself to a few things, but yeah.
I want to say hi to Boyd and Derek from Nozzle. Gentlemen, hello, hello, hello. And I especially want to say hi to Derek. Are you still on the call, Derek?
Yeah.
Awesome. He opened his home to me and I had an amazing time hanging out. It seemed like I went off during the days and was absent until about 9:15 each night. And then we'd stay up for almost midnight every night chitty-chatting about this and that. And I did not forget the s'mores bars. I brought them. I did not forget them. I didn't even need the reminder. I went straight to the counter.
Nice.
So anyway, anyone else want to give feedback? Because I thought that was really cool.
Ray, you're archiving all that Search Console data, right? Like that's one thing that I'm super frustrated about is just that like you lose data after a certain time with Search Console, and that's good.
Totally. That was one of the reasons we built it. We still do really push people to do bulk exports so they have it in BigQuery themselves too, because I'm a huge BigQuery fan. But we also archive it for people so they don't have to. Although I think it's good to have it in both places.
And you don't start from day one, right? You go back and get the history.
We go back as far as we can in the API, yeah.
Cool.
I'm doing a meeting. All good. I'll be out in a minute. Yeah. Folks from Walmart just came to say hi.
Walmart, please.
Yeah.
You're not planning a cyber attack on Walmart. Check your registers.
Yeah. I tried to go to Starbucks. It just didn't work. Their Wi-Fi was broken, and I was like, "Can you reset the router?" And they're like, "Unfortunately, we." I was like, "All right, I'm out." Somehow Walmart Wi-Fi is like 600 or 700 yards away from the machine, so I was like way away, and I knew that Walmart had Wi-Fi, so I came over here. Their Wi-Fi is broken too, so I'm using my phone as a connection. It's wild, man. It's actually shockingly good. Has it been glitchy for you guys? Am I glitchy, or can you see it? Isn't that wild?
Yeah.
That's all.
Yeah, it is. I get really good results tethering on my phone too. I'll use it sometimes even at home if my home weirdly like my home Wi-Fi connection isn't as good as my tether sometimes.
Yeah. I mean, I'm using my laptop, but my laptop's connected to the phone and blah blah blah.
Yeah.
Okay, this has been fun. When this ends, I'm gonna jump in my car and drive home. I haven't seen my fam in a bit, so it's gonna be pretty awesome to get home. But I don't want to end this until you guys are all talked out. Anybody got questions? Anyone need help with anything? We good? Feel like an auctioneer. Going once. Going twice. No, okay. So really great seeing y'all. And what do we have going on next week in the community? Let's think about this. We have Eli Schwartz, who's going to do a campfire chat. It's on the 5th, which is what, a Thursday? I forget. That should be super fun. Is it the 5th or the 3rd? I forget. I'll announce in the community. It's in the calendar. It's accurate on the
It's on the
calendar.
5th.
It's on the 5th. Okay. And that'll be really cool. And then we'll do office hours next week too. And we have both of our SEO shooting the poop rooms on Clubhouse. And just so that you all know, I've noticed people are giving me lots of feedback about the European one that happens around noon Mountain Standard Time. If you have ever come to our night one and thought that it was too loosey-goosey, disorganized, bunch of friends sitting around and not talking work enough for you, then you're going to love the European edition. There are 3 hyper-intelligent people who run it. It's not that it's structured and organized, but it seems to focus more on the work. Because our night group, the one that meets at 7 at night on Mountain Standard Time, we've all known each other for 4 years, so like it can be like close and vulnerable and that kind of stuff, which I think makes it more special. But if you want it to be more very high level, very intellectual, go to the BS, even though it's funny, it's called the BS time, but it's like way high level. So if you're into that, I recommend checking it out. So that's what we have going on in the community. I'm going to share this in the community tonight. I'm not going to wait around for it to upload to my machine and then upload to Slack and all that. So just be patient. I'll upload it tonight. And then that's really it. Ray, great job.
Thanks very much. Appreciate you having me.
Yeah, it was really good. Ooh, yeah, Duncan, do you want to talk about that?
Yeah, Sean Hoover and I are setting up SEO Beers Seattle, sponsored by Last Mile Retail, Demand Sphere, and iPullRank. Mike King is coming speaking at the event, and it will be on Thursday, March the 6th. There's a link, a Loomware link, a meetup link if you want to attend, or shoot me a message and I'll send you the invites.
Awesome.
That should be a good time.
That sounds like fun. What day of the week is it?
Thursday.
Thursday. Okay, cool.
Come on up.
Amy's excited. I can tell.
Do you have tickets? Oh, did you register
Yeah,
already?
I'm finally able to go for the first time, so I'm pretty excited. Yeah. Yeah, the
Awesome.
last 2 hours, not able to, so.
I know. I'm trying to get. I was in Anaheim just yesterday, and I'm trying to encourage some people to come up to Seattle for Thursday. So who knows? We'll see what happens.
Wait, you think
Well,
you're
I'll
going to
be
get
there.
people from California?
Yes, I do.
You're like, I'm going to be there. I'm Duncan. Are you going to be there? Everybody who's anybody's going to be there. Well, what's funny is I have points. So I'm sitting there going, what? Can I?
You might do it too, right?
Yeah, Joy will kill me though. Like post-vacation, vacation. Yeah. Okay. Great seeing y'all. Have a great week and see you soon. This was a really good one. Thanks, everybody.
All right.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.